Well, I'm here with the guys from KRISS USA, Mike Howe and Tim Sargent. Hey guys.
How's it going?
How's it going?
This time around, we're doing a 2-on-1 interview, but very excited to have you guys on. We're going to talk a little bit about KRISS USA and a little bit about the Sphinx pistols. But as always, I'd like to get started and ask you guys a little bit how you got into firearms and in the firearms industry. So, Mike, I'll start with you. Did you grow up with guns? How'd you get into this world?
Well, I think my interest in firearms started when, or just things that shoot. Once I realized what Nerf guns were, and then after my brother joined the army, started realizing Nerf guns, they look nothing like the real thing. So, that's when I started doing more research online and got into, I didn't buy my first firearm until I was about 21, 22. And then, when I had my pistol, immediately a thought occurred was, oh, I need more, before I even got used to my first one.
Right on. And then how'd you get into the firearms industry?
Well, I was working for a company, and I was working on airsoft sales, and I always had a keen interest in live fire firearms. So when the opportunity presented itself, I was able to join KRISS USA and work with him in sales and also business development.
Very cool. In fact, I don't think I mentioned before, Mike, you're the business development manager over there, and Tim Sargent, what's your position?
I'm the marketing manager here.
All right, very cool. And Tim, did you grow up with guns? How'd you get into the firearms world?
Yeah, kind of similar to Mike. I had a bunch of Nerf guns and water guns as a kid. I also had BB guns growing up and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting. Some of my family is really into guns. Some of them really aren't. But it's something that's always interested me, and I kind of graduated from Nerf into airsoft, and then after playing airsoft for a couple of years, I started collecting my own firearms, and that's just kind of how it, the natural progression went.
Well, I think we can all agree here that the Nerf guns are the gateway drug to the firearms.
Yeah, some of the new Nerf guns have like magazines and stuff and attachments.
I know. I was looking at I was looking at them with my son. I'm like, man, these are kind of cool.
Yeah. Kids don't realize how good they have it these days.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, how did you get into the firearms industry then?
Kind of similar to Mike. I worked in the airsoft industry for a while, and when KRISS approached me, they were looking for a way to expand their marketing, specifically their video marketing efforts, and that's something of a forte of mine. And so when the opportunity opened itself up, I jumped on it.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about KRISS USA. Many people have probably seen them online, but for people that don't know, what does KRISS do? What guns do they produce?
Well, this hopefully most of it will show up on the video. That's the KRISS Vector, and KRISS technology is what drives the company. I mean, our patented technology, the KRISS Super V system, is the recoil mitigation system that really changes the way traditional firearms would operate. Normally, you have a bolt that goes front to back, and the advent of this technology allows users to be able to shoot larger caliber firearms and yet still maintain control and not have the same kind of recoil as you would with a traditional, bolt design firearm. So the KRISS Vector is basically the primary product that we have that shows the technology. The standard submachine gun would actually have the 5.5-inch barrel. This is the carbine version. It would have the selector here, and we chose the 45 to show how much felt recoil and muzzle climb that we can reduce with the system.
Your guys' big claim to fame is the unique recoil system, is what I'm hearing here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're chambered in 45 ACP, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And can you tell me a little bit about the history of the development of the Vector, like how it kind of came about?
I mean, the bottom line was, what could we do to tame, some of the biggest issues with shooting, which is, felt recoil and muzzle rise, and the technology is basically basically channeling the energy in a different direction. So having that in mind, the idea was, okay, what can we do to design a firearm around those kinds of principles? Redirecting the energy so that a shooter of different sizes, whether a smaller frame person or larger frame person, could easily control the firearm. And over the course of several years, there were developments with the system, and the core idea was the same, where you had the bolt move in this direction. And the early prototypes, which there's some pictures on the internet, it looked like a garden hose, with a magazine that went into it, but that was the concept. And from there, obviously, it went from the basic prototype into a more refined firearm that's definitely more usable for tactical and recreational purposes.
Very cool. So was the tactical market the first, target market for this?
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the original Vector was originally designed to be a submachine gun, definitely with the goal to, for close quarters combat situations that law enforcement and military personnel might encounter. And from there, the civilian versions were developed afterward.
And why was it you guys went with the 45 ACP over 9 or 40?
Well, like Mike said, it really does a better job of showcasing how effective the Super V technology is. The normal reaction we get from people who fire the Vector for the first time is like, wow, it feels like a 9. And so the Super V system really does a great job of mitigating the recoil. Additionally, the ergonomics of the gun help the shooter maintain control of the gun, mainly the low bore axis and the high position of the hand, so that the axial forces pushing against the gun are more centered as opposed to above the shooter's firing hand.
Well, it's definitely a unique design. It's pretty revolutionary. I mean, you see a lot of the new guns that come to market are just kind of a rehash of another gun. And
Indeed.
Where I see the Vector, it's completely unique and original. So you offer quite a few different models, carbines, even a pistol version, the submachine gun version you mentioned. So can you tell me a little bit about the different offerings and why you brought those to market as well?
Yeah, I mean, the tactical application model is primarily the submachine gun, and we wanted to make the platform available for civilian owners. So we have the 16-inch carbine, which has a 16-inch barrel. We also have the pistol version, which has the 5.5-inch barrel, no stock. For people who just want a smaller package, Vector. And then we have the SBR as well, and it's essentially carbine, has the folding stock, but it'll have the 5.5-inch barrel, and it'll be semi-automatic. And so those are the four base platforms that we have, and then new for 2014 is our enhanced version, which what we did was we added the magpul front and rear sights, and then also have we also have our M4 stock adapter. And so many Americans have ARs, and they probably have in their garage bins of AR accessories, which includes stocks. So we figured, well, let's get an accessory where they can out there for the Vector, where they can use all those extra parts that they have. And the pre-configured version, which is the enhanced model, will have that stock adapter and also the magpul UBR stock, because the carbine with the 16-inch barrel can get a little front heavy, and we chose the UBR stock because it's a little bit heavier, provides a little bit more balance, and that's going to be coming out shortly.
Very cool. And they all take Glock magazines, is that right?
Yep. So what I have here is a Glock 21 magazine, and the benefit is, if you're running as your sidearm, whether a Glock 30 or a Glock 21, I mean, you can use the same mag from the pistol to the Vector or vice versa. And we actually also have an extension that moves this magazine from the base magazine 13 rounds to 25, so you can get a few more trigger pulls out of it. And this is good for guys who are, running their sidearms, and let's just say, I don't know, for whatever reason, they just need to have more ammo. They can take that, what we call, big sticks and just stick in their Glock 30. Although it look kind of funny, a little compact pistol with a 25-round mag, but it's definitely doable.
Yeah. If you operate like that,
Right.
So, KRISS is a Swiss-based company. What can you tell me about the origins of the company itself, and what's it like working with a company based out of Switzerland?
It's definitely interesting working with and for the Swiss. For one, the time zones are way different. Our first hour of the day is their last hour of the day, so that's when a lot of our meetings are. But all in all, it's great. I mean, just like with anything else Swiss, watches, chocolates, stuff like that, they're really driven by quality, and that's, a key attribute, I guess, or something that really drives our products and drives us here. And so we all have a very similar mindset, and it's really interesting to be able to bring these products to the market and show them off to the world.
Absolutely, yeah. When you think Swiss, you definitely think quality and maybe chocolate.
Well, that's the thing. You can't shoot our guns unless you've already eaten some cheese and you're wearing, a Swiss watch or something.
Yeah, or what kind of bonus accessories do they come with? Maybe I can help out your marketing here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a bar of chocolate for every gun you buy.
So, KRISS acquired a company called Sphinx a while back.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few years ago, correct? It was in 2010, so just 4 years ago. And Sphinx is also a Swiss-based company that's actually a really old company. Back in 1876 it was founded, from what I can tell. So really interesting history there. What can you tell me about the Sphinx company, and then the Sphinx pistols that you guys now carry?
Well, like you already mentioned, the company was founded many years ago doing precision tooling. In about the 80s is when Sphinx made the jump into developing firearms. The original pistol that Sphinx came to market with was based off the CZ75 design. They've taken, many evolutions of that since then, and today what we have is what we call our SDP, which stands for Special Duty Pistol. So the SDP is the latest derivative of the Sphinx 3000, and that's really the pistol that most people know Sphinx from. The 3000 is a very well-known competition gun, and one of the reasons that it's not very popular is because it was really expensive. That gun was pretty much completely handmade. And what we did with the SDP is we streamlined the production process so that we could bring the cost down but still maintain that high precision, that high quality. So that's how we have our SDP here. Mike is showing off our SDP Compact. And yeah, it's still a fantastic quality gun. Still feels competition, trigger-wise at least, like a competition pistol, but it has a lot more features that are more geared towards duty use.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, what really sets the gun apart from a lot of others is, one, it's the tolerances, and two, if you look at the frame, it's actually constructed very differently. You have an aluminum upper frame, and you got a polymer lower frame. And of course, we'll have some variations where the lower frame's made of, aluminum, and we'll also have versions where upper and lower are also steel. And this actually really helps with the accuracy. I mean, the whole time the slide is sitting on metal the entire time it's moving. So unlike some polymer guns out there where you'll get some flex when it's firing, I mean, it stays a lot more rigid, and the machining is very, very top notch. I mean, we got to visit the factory, and there's very high quality parts, that's for sure.
So what price point do these new ones come in at?
The SDP Compact MSRP is at $12.95, though the street price on them is closer to about $1,000.
Okay, that's
that's just for the compact. We have our subcompact coming to the market very soon that should be under $800 MSRP.
Yeah, that's much more friendly to the pocketbook than the original 3000 model. But these really caught my eye at SHOT Show this year, and actually I didn't even see them in person when I was going through some of the video my team shot. I saw them shooting them, and I was like, dang it, I didn't get to shoot those. But they were pretty impressed with them, and so what kind of reception have you been seeing in the U.S. market to these?
The very first reaction most people have is, wow, that's really expensive. I could get 3 of this for the cost of that. But then after that same person fires the gun, that's usually when they start to say, okay, now I see where all my money's going.
Yeah.
It's really until you fire the gun that you start to see where the precision manufacturing and the tolerances in the machining. I mean, there's a lot of metal on metal contact there. And a lot of people just don't understand that it takes a lot to have so much metal on metal contact without it seizing up. So you've got all these parts moving around, and they're moving very fluidly. It's moving as one piece. You know, it's a well-oiled machine. But, you know, you kind of have to fire it before you really start to appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going after people who just simply want something where they can squeeze the trigger and goes bang. You know, some of the features in here are definitely for people who, you know, who recognize some of the finer little details that we put into the gun. I mean, simple things like with the grip. I mean, you know, most of the time when you have grip options, it just changes the back strap. But this is, in a sense, kind of a wraparound. So you not only get the length of the grip, but you also get the width as well. So you get to fill in those palm swells. I mean, one of the other early reactions whenever people grip on the pistol for the first time, they always mention how comfortable it is and it seems to be made for their hand. And ergonomics is really important for us, you know, and how the gun moves in your hand, or I should say how it doesn't move. And it really feels like an extension of you. You know, the beaver tail helps a lot in being able to help, you know, control the pistol. Just overall, when people are firing, I mean, they're just shocked by how accurate. You know, people just don't expect it a lot of times. You know, I've sent these out to some instructors, and you know, there was one phone call I got where he just immediately called me and said, "Oh my gosh, you know, I couldn't believe, you know, the score I was able to get with this pistol after only having a few minutes of familiarization, you know, on the platform before he actually went onto the line." So you know, of course, that's really good feedback, and that's what we want to communicate to people is, you know, you get out of the box performance by choosing, you know, Sphinx pistols. You don't have to worry about, you know, modifying all these different parts just to get it shooting more accurately and more comfortably.
Right, and the price point really isn't far off from some SIGs and a lot of the different 1911s that are comparable in the market.
Sure.
Okay, so for the compact series, I see you have like the Alpha line, the Black line, Krypton, Sand, Duotone, Stainless. Are these just the different finishes, or are there other features that are different?
It's mostly the finishes and the construction. So the Alpha line is what you would probably call your entry-level Sphinx. It has the 3-part construction with the steel slide, aluminum frame, and polymer pistol grip. The Black line, the Krypton, and the Sand, those have all aluminum lower construction. So the slide is still steel, but the lower frame and the pistol grip, or I should say the upper frame and the pistol grip, are aluminum, and they're anodized to those colors. The Duotone and full stainless, they're completely steel pistols.
Very cool. Yeah, the complete stainless, that's pretty eye-catching.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of bling.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. So what can you tell me about the warranty for both KRISS and Sphinx?
KRISS, we have a limited warranty, and basically, you know, it would be 1 year, and once there's a registration process, you know, bump it out to 2 years. And then as far as for Sphinx, that's actually a limited lifetime warranty. And so if there's any defects that, you know, occur during the life of the product, you know, the user can always come back to us, and we'll get them taken care of.
What kind of market placement is, as far as availability, are we seeing for the Sphinx right now? Can I have my local dealer order them, or what's that look like?
Yeah, we are actively looking for new retailers to sell it through, and we have them available through several at this time, and basically our network of dealers is growing, and as our other models start to flow in, you'll start to see other variations as well. So right now what we have on the market is the compact, but in the coming months we're going to have the subcompact and the standard and some color variants for the compact as well.
Now, why did you come to market with the compact before the standard size?
Well, for some of the law enforcement and military requirements, they were looking for compact pistols, so we brought that out to market first. But you know, what some people have commented is the accuracy that they were able to get out of this pistol rivaled some of the you know, standard size, you know, pistols that they have, you know, whether on their hip or just, you know, at home in the safe. And you know, so it was that basically. But in other regions, particularly in Europe, we've actually had the standard size pistols already being sold on the market. So we're bringing some of those other models into the U.S. as soon as we can.
All right. Anything else you can share that might be in the future for Sphinx?
Well, we just announced the standard production model, which is it's geared for the competition shooter as a production model, and it'll be a full-size steel pistol, and you know, it'll have an adjustable rear sight. It'll have a extended hammer, and it's just little features that are geared towards the shooter who really wants something a little bit more refined when they're running, you know, competition.
The production model's geared for production class shooting with IPSC and other, you know, other organizations that, you know, will have a stock pistol. So it is a stock pistol out of the box, but it has a lot more competition-like features. The trigger's been made lighter, for one thing Mike didn't mention. But yeah, the adjustable rear sight definitely comes in handy. The front sight is cut a little differently, so it has like a negative angle, so it doesn't reflect light. And so these were developed in conjunction with a lot of the employees in Europe that compete actively. And so that with their input, and obviously with the history of the Sphinx 3000 being a widely popular competition pistol, we've kind of found a middle ground between the uber open class gun and your regular gun. So that's what the production is set to take care of.
Yep.
Do you currently have any sponsored shooters in the U.S.?
Not at this time. You know, as our portfolio in the U.S. starts to grow, then we're going to start you know, getting a lot more involved in the competition scene.
We do have a lot of people knocking at our doors, though.
Yeah.
Well, you know, maybe for the right price you could bring me on, but well, let's go back to KRISS USA a little bit.
Okay.
As far as sales go, law enforcement versus civilian sales, what kind of ratio are you seeing there?
Yeah, I think our sales are definitely primarily retail, but because, you know, for agencies there's a certain amount of law enforcement you know, officers, and then obviously there's a lot more retail, you know, consumers. And internationally, we've seen growth in the adoption of our platform. So it's over the past few years we've been building traction.
Now, when a law enforcement agency, you know, whether it's international or U.S., when they do decide to transition to the Vector, what are they transitioning away from?
A lot of times we see them transitioning away from you know, your 9mm subguns. Some of them, they've had their subguns, you know, in service for for decades, you know. And when they say they're ready to cycle them out, I mean, they're definitely ready, and that's why they're looking for something that's a little bit more that has a little bit more of a modern system. And definitely ours is as modern as they get. You know, it's different from the traditional platforms, and they're looking for a larger round a lot of times, something that has a little bit more punch. And sometimes their duty pistols are Glock 21, so, you know, it helps that, you know, our Vector is compatible with those magazines.
Another thing that's really cool about the SMG version that civilians don't get to experience that the law enforcement agencies do is the 2-round burst feature of the SMG. So you know, just switching to 2-round burst, you know, it's a double tap with one trigger pull, and it's definitely something that's really helpful that no other gun has.
Yeah. I mean, the controllability is, I mean, it just can't be argued with, you know, in like burst and full auto. there was an old video where an instructor was shooting a 45 sub gun, and you see him do a 25 round mag dump, and it's noticeably not, I wouldn't say it's super difficult to control, but he did have to lean into it, and then after he dumped the 25 rounds, he had to take a step back, and he had one of our early production prototypes. So he grabbed our gun, put in a 13 round mag, punched out with one hand, and fired all 13 rounds at full auto. And it was still in front of him, it wasn't behind him, so that basically showed the capabilities of it. And and that's one thing, because for people in compact areas, if they get hurt or whatever, they can still use the gun one-handed. And I know there's one officer, we talked on the phone, and he said he was actually using the Vector SDP pistol, and he's a K9 unit, so he's able to hold the Vector with one hand and still be able to run the gun with the other, and still be able to shoot very accurately out to 25 yards.
That's awesome.
And he qualified with it too.
That's pretty awesome. So, yeah. What does KRISS USA have in store for the near future? Anything new coming up?
Yeah, we're working on some products, and unfortunately, got to remain tight-lipped about it.
All secret world stuff. I see.
Yeah, we got some neat things coming.
So, Tim and Mike, what's it like working for KRISS? Do you guys, company picnics or at the range, or what's that like?
Adventure and fun.
Yeah, adventure and fun is something that we throw around a lot over here. I definitely get to shoot a lot more than I did prior to being employed here, and it's definitely a unique opportunity. And KRISS is definitely a unique company in and of itself. The innovation doesn't just start and end with the technology and the product. We're always thinking of new ways to express ourselves, I guess you could say. And we've got a really unique crew, being spread out between Switzerland, the United States, and other parts of the world. And it's kind of cool when we all come together for certain events like SHOT Show or like EWA we just came back from. It's like we're so far apart, but we integrate together really well.
Yeah.
And it's definitely been a fun ride.
Yeah. And just a little background behind the company now. What we have is a KRISS Group, and underneath it are several different brands. And of course, we got KRISS, we got Sphinx, and KRISS, did more technology-driven, firearms that are a little bit, obviously, actually, I should say, very different from your traditional platforms. You got Sphinx that does the traditional pistols that are just refined and cleaned up for great accuracy and performance. And then we got Defiance, which does accessories, and we'll have these tritium fiber optic sights that we'll be coming out with in this year. And and then we have different accessories, rails, and suppressors. And then we had a couple other brands that we just added on this year. One of them is Krytac, and that's going to be going into the airsoft training and also the 22 market. So we'll be doing 22 rifles, airsoft guns, and other products that fit underneath that brand. And then we're also going to have another group, I should say, training side of things with KRISS, and it's called Steinbrücke, very German name, and that will satisfy opportunities to be able to train whether civilian, law enforcement, military, and the background consists of special operations, from various nations, and we can bring a different perspective as opposed to some of the other training groups, which is mainly American. And of course, we'll be able to bring in resources from all around the world, including the U.S., and you can get different perspectives as to why people run their guns in a certain way, or they have certain techniques for clearing rooms, or there's just endless opportunities to be able to pull in different knowledge that these guys have gained over the years.
Well, very cool. It sounds like a really great collection of companies. Although I didn't hear anything in there about Nerf guns. Are you branching out in a
Well, probably a picture. Yeah, but Tim was saying about Krytac.
Well, Krytac's kind of our brand that we can experiment and do, an endless amount of things with. So like Mike said, we're going to be doing airsoft guns under that brand, which we announced at SHOT Show this year. Some of those airsoft models will transition into 22 LR rimfire. and it's kind of like the training platform, I guess you can say, for some of the bigger calibers.
Hmm.
Very cool. So may we see a KRISS Vector in 22?
You may in the future, yeah.
Hmm.
Very cool.
Yep.
Well, any final thoughts? Anything you want to plug?
That's mainly it. I mean, just be on the lookout for all the new products that are coming out. I mean, the Krytac products, we're looking to have them to market this year, so that should be pretty interesting. For people looking for some 22 products as well, because some people they may not want to. They might want not want airsoft, but then for those who have live guns, they might want airsoft to be able to train in their homes. It's kind of nice to be able to train and yet just use a vacuum cleaner to clean up, the mess you made, inside the house, and that's kind of the benefit of what we're going for with that brand. And of course, Sphinx, we're going to have all these other models, and it's going to be real exciting because some of the models that people have been looking for, like the standard, size pistols, people are going to be able to have a pistol that they can utilize for competition.
So Krytac, is there a website for that branch?
Yeah, you can go to Krytac.com. Right now it's a front page where you can sign up for our newsletter to get even more information. We should be launching that in the next couple of weeks so that you can actually view the product on there. For more information about Krytac, we also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Krytac, and you can find even more in-depth info there until we get our website launched.
KRYTAC.
All right. Well, below this video, I'll link up to all those links we talked about, so you can just click right through if you're watching, and
Cool.
sign up for that newsletter to be keep apprised of any developments. But yeah, that's the airsoft world melding with the firearms world is pretty interesting. So that's pretty cool.
I think just right there's just so much synergy between the two. In my prior position, I was working with a lot of law enforcement agencies on utilizing airsoft platforms for training, and a lot of these guys are just trying to be more budget conscious. And of course, it's just another tool in the tool bag, in the toolbox. I mean, you got different options. You got your training rounds, but you can't use that everywhere. And the good thing about airsoft is it's a little bit more flexible with the areas you can use it in. And it's just to provide the agencies with other training options.
Well, very cool. Well, Mike and Tim, thank you so much for coming down the Arms Collective and sharing a little bit about KRISS and Sphinx and Krytac, and a little bit about yourselves. It's great getting to know you guys. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks a lot, Jake.